Because if we think that we're going to get answers, and the reason I don't want to vote for Maraga is because I think he's a system man and he's my grandfather. I think he's been too embedded in the system to see a better future for it, right?
I have to disagree with you on that.
Iko Nini.
Yes, ikiwa ni a special episode na leo niko na Wanjiro Mwangi. Wanjiro sasa.
Mambo. Ukoje?
Yeah, uko poa?
Niko salama.
Yes, niko poa. So kuna watu wanakujua from the case ya Gachagua, yes?
Yes.
Ulikuwa kotini?
Yes.
Are you a lawyer?
No, I am a private Kenyan citizen.
Okay.
Who was using the civil procedure in Article 22, which gives all Kenyan citizens the right to appear in court by themselves without representation by a lawyer.
Okay. So what did you want for Gachagua? You wanted Gachagua to stay DP? Ama, what was your whole appearance about?
Actually, per se, I don't really care about Gachagua as an individual. What we cared about was the processes in the constitution laid down for impeachment.
Okay.
Because this was the first impeachment happening. And the constitution gave specific frameworks of how it should be done. We thought they would be followed, but after reading what happened in the Senate and what happened in Bunge, we're just like, these guys have just taken that katiba, wamerarua, wamerusha inje.
Okay.
And because both of us, me and my co-petitioner, have had not great experiences with lawyers, we thought, hey, if we don't go and try and say something, maybe we'll miss an opportunity to actually defend the constitution and Kenyans' rights at large.
Okay. So what did you feel was not followed on the constitution when it comes to the impeachment of Gachagua? So
in his impeachment process, there are certain thresholds that they're supposed to follow. So it's basically like giving evidence in a courtroom. So you don't go to court and just claim. You have to claim with facts. So you give evidence. And if you don't have evidence, for example, the other party is blocking, you can request for that evidence to be given.
Okay.
But in Gachagua's case, it was just hearsay. They said, this guy said this on TV. He should be impeached for defamation. And then there's no complainant also. They're saying, they're the ones complaining. You're just like, okay, who was aggrieved by this complaint? Because somebody has to complain. If I hurt you, a third party cannot go and say, or claim on your behalf. Okay. You have to claim and say, I'm the one who's being, these sentiments have hurt me. I didn't like him. I want to sue. So that's an option. So they literally pulled, it's like us guys were sitting here having a conversation. Somebody randomly pulls a clip and then sues somebody else. Okay. You're just like, how does that work? So there's a threshold that's supposed to be followed and they didn't follow it. So you can imagine if you're going to be removed via rumors, I mean, that's very ridiculous. But the issues on corruption, we actually agreed with. Okay. 100%. And what we noticed in that situation was what our application was dealing with was the freedom of expression. Okay. And the freedom of conscience, because we believe you have the right to think how you want to think. And if you have that freedom to think freely, you have the freedom to express yourself freely. And based on what Moi had done, we were just like, kama waneza nyamaza DP hivi, the rest of us ni nani kwa hii story.
Oh, okay. But sasa kuna tu waneza do the counter argument to that and be like, one of the reasons why he was impeached was because he does not have, his behavior does not befit a national leader. So he's the sort of guy who was saying that Kenyan are shareholders. And even after he was impeached, he's the sort of guy who goes everywhere screaming about Mlima. It's never about Kenya. Yes. They always have to, the Mount, MT has to be there. It's never Kenya alone. Yes. It has to be Mount Kenya. So I understand why.
I agree. But again, the reason I disagree with the forum it's been brought in is because Parliament does not work for the people of Kenya. We know that. Yes. Ruto does not work for the people of Kenya. We know that. And I know a lot of people. Right now, if you go to government institutions, you'll see a lot of Kalis who are promoted over any other tribe. Yeah. So tribalism is a factor on all sides. And I'm going to tell you this as a Kikuyu for free. Take it to the bank and every bank. I am a Kikuyu and I would never vote for Rigathi Gachagua. He does not represent us. Yes. He represents an old colonial Kenya that doesn't exist anymore. He's not for us. So if they had focused on grounds that made sense, I would agree. But if they were focused purely on corruption, would be like, those are absolute grounds for him to go.
Yes.
But these other remarks, Rigathi Gachagua has been Rigathi Gachagua his whole life.
Yes.
He didn't start his loose mouth when he became DP. It's his constant character. So again, what was IBC doing? What is the point of IBC vetting people for integrity?
Yes.
If you don't have integrity in the beginning, they should call you out and say, no, the way you already talk is not going to sit well with the people of Kenya. And I think those are the things that we need to look at as a country. But then punishing somebody for not saying what you want is different, as opposed to, because if you look at, for example, Uhuru and Ruto, Uhuru had sidelined Ruto. We all know that.
Yes.
But he never once went and Ruto used to go out every campaign and, talk all this trash. But Uhuru never impeached him.
Yes.
Because he knew the impeachment grounds, the threshold was quite high. And also he didn't want to open Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Because if you can impeach a DP, President Nini. And that's what the impeachment process was about. It was about sitting down and getting the facts. And in fact, in our petition, tulikuwa naambia the court, can you guys stop? Remove all of these things that are talking about our freedom of expression and our freedom of conscience. Send back corruption. We agree wholeheartedly with corruption. They have put in affidavits. They have put in evidence. They have brought bank statements. So that one was there. But everything else was rumors. We said, Apana, don't curtail. If you can curtail his freedom as a DP, you will come for the rest of us. And I think in that last year, you can really see how the government has cracked down on anybody, even tweets like Albert Ojwang, for example.
Okay.
That was absolute rubbish, And you're just like, if you want to gag people, how many people went missing last year after Manamano? Thousands of people.
Yeah.
And people are still talking, and they don't want us to talk so that we can live in fear like Moi's time. So we were fighting for that right to express ourselves, not for Rigathi Gachagua. Yeah.
Okay. And so far, as mtu wa mlima, how do you look at him as Gachagua now?
First of all, I identify as a Kenyan, full.
Okay.
I don't think the mountain is not with him.
Yes.
He's never been one of us. He's always been a politician. We understand that
I think that's a very elitist argument, because I think the mountain is with him. I think with the mountain, I don't mean the educated Kenyans, because those are like a small bunch. But the bigger mountain, I think, ukiangalia even like majuzi tulikuwa na Maureen Waititu, and she was telling me the way Kikuyu has been developed by this guy, what's his name, Kimani Ichung'wah, but people still don't want him, you see. And alikuwa nasema like ingekuwa ni strictly about development, then Kimani would stand a chance, but it's not about that, because politics, you have to talk to the people, you have to grab their hearts.
Yeah.
And Kimani has done the job, but not the hearts. He does not have the hearts. And for you to think about the only reason he does not have the hearts, ni juu ya nani? Ni juu ya Rigathi Gachagua.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I beg to differ. I actually come from, I'm a Kikuyu Masai, actually. So my mom's side, they come from Kikuyu, and Kimani Ichung'wah is there. And I will tell you, from Kikuyus on the ground, he's not doing what he's saying he's doing. From people who are living there.
Hii hata si nani peke yake. Even there's another iko nini co-host anaitwa Ian usemaga the same thing. If you go to Kikuyu, like all the feeder roads are tarmacked, like there's what we call development in quotes. It's there and you can see it. But what the guy lacks is people don't like him
as an individual.
Yes.
I don't know much. I know what I have seen over the last couple of years, because that's my shags on my mom's side. So I've seen Kikuyu develop, I've seen it undevelop, I've seen things stall, I've seen things unstall. I don't know if those roads are government, are Kenha roads, if they're national roads, or if they're roads for Kikuyu, because they also don't give us that information. But I'll tell you, from what I've seen, I know it was that expressway that was put by Kibaki that has created all of this new development and infrastructure coming up. And for Rigathi Gachagua, I don't know which people from Murima, you're talking, maybe the Mamambogas, you know?
Yes, and they're the majority.
I don't know, they're not.
Yes, the Mamambogas and the Watuaboda and the what? Those so-called Atufanyangani, should we call them menial jobs? What are they called?
Lower income jobs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are the majority and they love him. And this is the reason why the mountain right now has revolted. It's mostly because of Gachagua. Even of course, the mountain had revolted before. Like, no, not the mountain, the whole of Kenya had.
Yeah.
But the amount of hatred that Ruto is receiving right now from the mountain, anyone who does not attribute that to Gachagua has to be very elitist. No.
You think so?
Yes.
But why do you think so? Because I actually go to the ground and I talk to people in markets. These mama bogas you're talking about. And we have all understood something, that these political players have all been conning all of us, right?
Yes.
And you see, for me, I take personal offense to him calling himself Mutua Murima, because that mountain, Kikuyu's in tradition, which I've just been learning about recently in the last, let's say, 5 years, that mountain was for people who are going to do God's work. Like for real. Take care of the animals, take care of the land, take care of the people, take care of society, take care of your community. It wasn't about somebody using the information of I've come from this area, so I have the capacity to lead. And we know that we are being lied to. We have a political issue, and it has nothing to do with tribe. It has everything to do with all of these political players making us believe it's about tribe, making us believe it is about hustler versus dynasty. And the fact is that so long as we're fighting each other and not looking at what Kere is doing, which is what Raila used to tell us, he used to boycott everything and we never used to understand why. So long as we're not focusing on the bigger picture, they will continue doing it. Now it's a Gen Z revolution. And the reason I've agreed to be even termed Gen Z is because I said it's a divide and conquer game. It will either be men versus women, it will be your age, it will be your color, whatever they can find, tribalism, to divide us, and we're not divided anymore. And I feel like as much as I understand Rigathi is bitter, he's not unjustifiably he's not an innocent person.
Yes.
There was a lot of killings during Moi's time in Molo, we know this. There are rumors that he's Moi's son. That's an allegation. I cannot confirm or deny that.
Yes.
But from where I'm sitting, he's a relic of the past, and we're going to get rid of that. I don't support anybody who's tribalistic or anybody who's trying to gain for themselves. And as a Kikuyu, I can tell you, I can understand the fear because I see it. We don't want to lose our position. But it's a very stupid fear because you should think about, where do I invest in the future for devolution? They should be planning on, I need to invest in these other towns and cities instead of wacha tu tushikilia. It's a very colonial mentality.
Okay. And also like one of the latest news time tuko hapa ni finally Sarah Wanjiko, it's Sarah Wanjiko Dhiga and Peter Kenyanjui were presented kwa Kahawa Law Courts. You know about the two of them? They are DCP members. And wamekuwa charged na ugaidi. So unajua ugaidi?
No, educate me. School me.
Terrorism.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
So hao ndio inasemekana wako accused juu ya stories za kufanya nini zichomwe police stations. And vitu kama hizo, like all the chaos that happened in Kikuyu last week, inasemekana hao ndio walikuwa involved.
Is that the guy who was released on free bond and then taken away by the anti-terror squad? At Juja.
Yeah, I don't know kama ni hivyo, but mikile najua ni wamekuwa charged na hiyo story. So
from what I understood, I think it was they said that they're Gachagua's youth leaders.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So they've been taken to court today.
Yeah, wamefikishwa koti leo because ilikuwa inasemekana ni nini, like their actions hizo za ugaidi they led to serious damage to government offices and buildings with Kikuyu probation offices, Kikuyu law courts, Kikuyu sub-county offices, Kikuyu chief's office, Kikuyu registrar of persons offices, sub-county education, hizo zote zilikuwa destroyed and among other property of the government. So saizi wamefikishwa kotini. So now my question would be how do you think this has anything to do with hizo protests za Kikuyu? Do you think they were funded and they were targeting government offices?
I think for me, after reading the Constitution, Article 1.1, which says all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya.
Yes.
So sheria ya kwanza na mwisho kwa inchi ni wananchi. So when I've understood that, what do these government institutions represent? So I don't disagree that they could be people that have been funded, but I think it's sad to disregard the fact that it might not, you may call it an elitist view, but we are generally all of us tired
Yes.
angry and frustrated at all of them. So, and like for somebody like me who, we have been in court for 20 years, I can actually understand why somebody would want to go and burn a courtroom. I don't condone it, but I can understand, when you go to court, when us guys are in court for 20 years and we're not getting orders and nothing is moving, and somebody like Rigathi comes and in 2 weeks, they managed to solve everything, you wonder. So we do have a justice system, but who does it work for?
Yes.
And I think it's the same issue that we're facing with the police, all right? Me, I've been arrested under false charges. I've slept in cell. It's a concrete floor.
Yeah.
And you're just like, are we this barbaric, like even in this day and age, that even if you're going to arrest me, I don't deserve a mattress or a blanket? So you look at the situation and then why am I also being arrested? Because I was arrested under false charges. There was somebody who didn't want me to tell a story that they had been stealing something, and I told it. And they decided to use the arms of government to frustrate me. And it's something. So when I see this behavior, the way the police are acting, it's nothing new.
Okay.
And it's not even about politicians hiring them. It's whoever has the most money. So you can imagine if me as a Kenyan citizen who has been affected directly by this, right, try to get accountability from the institutions. Because I went to IPOA, nothing happened. I went to ODPP, nothing happened. I went to even regional commander, internal affairs.
Yes.
So you find we have all of these structures that are laid down to actually protect our sovereignty. But they can be corrupted easily by buying anybody. So what's the point? So I understand why people are frustrated at the policemen as well.
Oh, I think, Nini, maybe you misunderstood in Kibonga Juya elitist.
Okay.
One thing, I know Kenyans are mad at the government. But I also know that part of the anger in Central Province is coming from the fact that there are people from there who feel that Gachagua was betrayed, you see. And those are the people who are saying they love him, not because of anything, but because of the fact that they feel that the son of the mountain was betrayed. So I don't know, Kama, that makes sense to you. That, yes, there is the universal anger, if I can call it that, yes, where Kenyans are angry. But then there is this specific anger in the mountain where, yes, this guy was already performing poorly, but now on top of that, he's betrayed our son. Now we hate him, and now since our son has been betrayed, which is something that happens in life where we all root for the underdog. So there are those people who are rooting for the underdog, and the underdog in this situation, who they think is the underdog is Rigathi Gachagua. Does that make sense?
It does. And you see, for me, I'm a student of history. And I study systems. I like to see how things work and why they're not working. And Rigathi is playing from the same playbook that Ruto did.
Yes.
Oh, my boss has locked me out. Oh, I don't have fuel for my boss. Oh, I can't work because I'm not the president. So we've heard these stories before and we're tired. That's why I say it doesn't matter what you want to do to anybody in that political circle. If you're not dealing with corruption, I'm not really that interested in what you're going through. Personally speaking, because I feel like they have learned how to read us, study us, manipulate us. And that's the same playbook he's using. And as much as you're saying he has the vote from the Mamambogas, it's the same thing I can see with Matiang'i happening right now. Like even Kikuyu women are talking about how Matiang'i is good. I said, that guy locked us in our house during COVID. He helped crash the Kenyan economy. He used prisoners to build his home. He what's this called? He's in contempt of court. He's not a leader. So we need to stop recycling. And they have been so used to using the people who are there to condition us to accept. We're just like, we feel bad for him. I feel bad for Kenyans. I feel bad being a Kikuyu person, and this person is supposed to be a Kikuyu leader, and this is what he's doing to our country. As much as I appreciate the Mushene because he has given us a lot of jabba and story and insight, he has not done it willfully or out of the goodness of his heart. He's done it out of spite. So I don't feel sympathy for him or for anybody else. And I feel like as Kenyans, we really need to ask ourselves, what qualities do you want in a leader? And it can't be, you fell down. Sawa, you fell down, but you don't deserve our taxes for the rest of your life.
Okay. And then, Nini, as a lady, what did you feel about zile comments za Sabina Chege, how she was being addressed by Farouk?
I don't think I've seen that one. Do you mind if I see it? You have it?
You didn't see it? Okay. So they were at what is it called, at a fundraiser. So she donated 200,000 shillings. And after she donated 200,000 shillings, he picked up the mic, okay, Farouk, and then he was like, you know what, look at her. Akamwambia turn, let them look at you. Try and imagine hii kwa kitanda, si utafurahia sana.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh. But,
yeah,
what?
Hapana. Yes, and
No,
then now
I didn't see that.
the way Kenyans know how to dig, they went digging,
Of course.
and they found this other photo, which is interesting, where she's walking and hapa haikubidi a turn. They had something to look at. So mnafeel nini? Because I reacted to it and I was saying, I think this is the sort of environment that Kenyan politicians have built, and this environment has been built by both male and female politicians, where it's a very sexualized environment. Nakumbuka Omanga pia still in 2022 Omanga alikuwa naambiwa pinduka, unajua hivyo?
Oh, I didn't
A
know
dance, yes, by the same Farouk. Aliambia Omanga pinduka utudansie kidogo. So vile huyu aliambiwa, you could see she was disgusted, but it is what it is. So wewe unaichukuaje as a lady now? Because unajua, for me I was like, if you wrestle in the mud with pigs, this is bound to happen.
I think I don't know, because I am a female, I'm an entrepreneur, and I feel like sexual harassment is extremely common. Extremely common. Like, I feel bad that if she's not comfortable that she's gone through that. For me, I just learned it's part of the day's job. Don't take the shit personally. But I would not want to see that happening to my daughter. You know, so if it's in that context of, I find in the context of if it's been done to somebody who cannot defend themselves and is younger and they don't deserve it, I absolutely don't agree with it or condone it. And I think it's very chauvinistic and it's sexual, as you have said. And I think it happens still in both the male and the females. I think all of them use their bodies and positions for power or for money. I don't think it's specifically about gender. I think the fact that he could say it so blatantly and openly is a good thing, because I really feel like Kenya is in a place where the veil is dropping. Like, people are starting to see the true characteristics of people. So I think as a woman, what are you doing in that position of leadership? Because if you're going to tolerate that behavior, you're going to teach other women that to tolerate it. But I do feel bad for her. I sincerely hope she, gets her justice. I don't know also if she's his girlfriend and that's their thing.
No, I think she's married. It's just something that he does to them on Endagapale, but it also says so much about the Kenyan population and so much about the Kenyan voter, that when he was saying that, people are cheering. So he knows his target audience. And remember what I was talking about, elitist views. So hizi zetu zile sisi wale tuko outraged, sisi tunachukuliwa sasa kaa mtu tu elite, najua. But hii ndio kitu happened. So even Gloria Oroba ended up tweeting and saying that that's the person they have to go through before meeting the president.
They call him the real deputy president.
Yes, nakuwa the real deputy. So nafika pale huko, nataka kuona rais. Saa pinduka kidogo niangalia. Okay. Unataka matakwa, uko na matakwa gani? And then you understand. Like, I don't know what happens, but it also says so much about
our
like
society.
To say that in public.
Yeah.
What do you say in private?
What are you doing in private? Because I
Yeah.
don't think that woman will have a choice, or any woman, if you're behind closed doors. So I think, again, like I said, I'm happy that these things are coming to light so that people can see. So it's true. And I think a lot of women, I don't talk about like the sexual harassment I do on a daily basis. I just learned, okay, what am I here to achieve? Am I here for... Am I gonna get this meeting? No. Do I feel disrespected? Yes. I walk out of, I think I have I'm lucky enough, privileged enough to have options.
Yes.
I think some women are not, and I think that's what they like. People who don't have a choice, so they can abuse them, so they can take their power, so they can control them and humiliate them. So I am sorry to her and any other women, especially all the women who got raped, my God. During the last Mandamano, it was very sad. Like, that really broke my heart, and I'm just like... Again, like for me, I grew up, my parents were my mom was a little bit strict, but still, I used to wear short skirts and crop tops. And I think that's also an issue, because as women also, I think we also have a responsibility to be telling these young babes, don't come out in hot pants for a mandamano, don't come out in a crop top. it might be fine for you to go to a club like that, but even still, you're supposed to be on high alert, even however you're dressed as a woman in a club. But I think, honestly, I feel quite disappointed actually in myself for not calling out, because there were a few babes I saw on Thika Road who were not wearing anything. Na nilikuwa nimeshtuka. I said, hey, okay, maybe Kenya has progressed enough. Because when you go to Tao, you see even trans guys wearing heels, walking around, makeup, nails out. So I thought Kenya had evolved past that, but I feel really bad. So thanks for yeah.
Ekonene. So kwa US unatry kutuma do Kenya, tumia Lemfi. Lemfi number 1 kupatiaga the best exchange rates. Alafu on your first $100 ilunatuma, unabaki umepata $20 cashback. Alafu ukitumia the referral code Ekonene, si wenyewe pia tunapata $20. So end up umesupport Ekonene, ndio tukue na better lighting. Cheki jo, saizi si unaona, unzaniona. The last time niliduia day Lemfi, ulikuwa unaniona hivi. Was I this clear? And this is because of the other people who supported vile litumia ile promo code Ekonene ya Lemfi. So baki umechangamka, ingia Lemfi. Alafu saizi pia kitu poa, si lazima ubaki umeload wallet yako. Unaweza baki umeshikanisha debit card yako na Lemfi. So kituma do ni instant, ikienda kule inaenda. Alafu kama kawaida pia kuna zero transfer fees, $20 cashback, una support Ekonene. Alafu pia vile musemaga jo, Lemfi, international payments for everyone. Ekonene.
I understand. The counter argument to that would be like, mnajisi ni mnajisi, unajua. So it does not matter what you're wearing. You saw the video from Garissa. There was a video going around.
No,
yeah, Garissa. So kuna udem. In Garissa, you can understand how she's dressed. How is she dressed? Wild guess. Buibui.
Oh, the one for the CCTV.
Yes.
Yes.
And you remember the woman had to come out.
Yes.
And the mother had to come out and save her. So with that in mind, yes, palina agree na wewe 100% ni alertness. You have to be 100% alert.
Yeah.
But I don't think these goons care what dem amevaa. Because kumbuka, these were the same goons like I think maybe 2 weeks ago, there was the news report where they were saying that they'd been given instructions to harass women and hurt women so that Kenyans can turn against the protests.
Yes.
Nakumbuka?
Yes.
So since kuna watu kama hao, lazima tujue ijalishi kile dem amevaa. Akuwa amevaa buibui, akuwa amevaa nini, they're still in danger. So I think hapo ni, sijui kama ina make sense.
I think it makes sense.
Especially after your video ya Garissa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's first of all that it's in Garissa, in a Somali community. Muslim community is quite shocking. Let's be very honest.
Yeah.
But I think as a woman, you know, from a very young age, we're told, do not wear this in front of men.
Yeah.
I think even you're not even allowed to hug your relatives at a certain, when you're going through puberty.
Okay.
So we're usually given this information in a lot, and you're told, you know, rape is every day. You know, at the last mandamanos tulikuwa Kiambu Road, and the options are you get beaten by cops or Karura Forest. And I said I'd rather get beaten by cops because Karura Forest I might get raped and never come out. You know, so you look at these things and it's really sad. And again, what are our women reps doing? Because we have women reps in every single county. None of them are talking about these issues, you know? And it just makes me sad because you can't, at the end of the day, control a rapist. If somebody wants to rape you, it doesn't matter. That guy was not at Mandamano. It was in broad daylight.
Yes.
So his intention was clear. So I think for me, the best information I've been given is dress up properly, mind your surroundings, don't get drunk in front of people you don't know, don't drink things that you don't know. But again, like this baby in Garissa, it was broad daylight. She was fully clothed and she was alone. So you just don't know.
Yeah, nasema like mnajisi na mnajisi. I think that's such vile human beings, they can't claim sijui mtu alikuwa amevaa hivi ama amevaa hivi because ingemaanisha places kama hizo then kitu kaa hiyo ingekuwa ina happen, but it still happens, unajua.
Yeah.
So I think kulikuwa na hiyo.
I like that you have said these vile human beings because that's how I feel about all the politicians.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a bunch of vile people who are trying to poison us against somebody who's bad. I said, but you're all bad. So why should I feel bad for you in this pity party, you know? Hakuna mse ako clean tuseme huyu jamaa ako sawa. But I think that's where Kenyans need to get out of this poison mindset. If a person is bad, let's not give them power and money and hope they'll change. They won't.
Yeah, because
it's like,
I will only bring up Matiang'i, because Matiang'i has been the most interesting person to look at, where 1 minute wasona complain juu ya extrajudicial, the the next minute they are calling for the guy who was there saying he does not want to hear about human rights. So inakwaga scary. Look like Kenyans want change, or maybe they don't really want change, because that's another thing that's happening. Like, do Kenyans really want change? It's something that we have to ask ourselves, and that's the reason why kuna chiki nikikwambia nikibonga juu ya elitist viewing amba views ni hiyo. Niko nabonga juu ya when we start thinking that we've overcome the tribalism demon. I don't think we've overcome it. I think there are Kenyans who are still stuck in that mind state where they feel like if one of us is a leader, then it means that all of us are benefiting, and then we are stuck in this. Understand? So we end up choosing the worst amongst us. Because even if you look at the Kisii community and you look at, there's Matiang'i who's been offered, sindio, for leadership. And then there's Maraga who's been offered for leadership. There was Morara who's offered. If you look at these three leaders, the lowest amongst them, kwako ni nani?
Morara.
Three. Ukichukua Matiang'i, Morara and Maraga.
In terms of what? Integrity, character?
Yes. Who would you put as the lowest?
In terms of integrity and character? Definitely Matiang'i.
Yes.
And then,
with Morara and him asking for funding, I didn't find anything wrong with that. It's just he wanted funding. I don't know.
Did.
And one of the worst things that has happened with internet is internet has made us feel like we are all leaders.
Yeah.
So in the process, anyone who tries to step up as a leader is beaten down.
Massacred, for sure.
So look at it this way.
Yeah.
Who has come out as a Gen Z leader and survived?
Nobody so far.
Yes.
But
so it shows you, when I look at people demonizing Morara, I'm there like, okay, I understand. You all think you can do it. That's the reason why you don't want this one guy who has the courage to come out and be like, I can do it. Because the same thing I always say about like closeted humans, yes? If you're in the closet and you see someone who's gay having the time of their lives, you're going to hate him.
Facts.
Because they're doing something
Facts.
that you don't have the guts to do.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing that's happening with leadership. Ukiona watu wote na bash, because Morara is bad, Kasmuel is bad, nani tena, Osama Otero is bad. Who else has tried? Hanifa is bad. Everyone who's tried to come out, imekuwa Boniface Mwangi is bad. So kila mtu ni mbaya. So it shows you so with that's why we are stuck with this situation whereby I don't think there's any young person who survived. So every young person has retreated. And now we are left with the older generation.
The old clowns.
And the old
keep
clowns.
telling us jokes.
Yes.
I hear what you're saying. And I think for me, it's one of those things where it's taken me a very long time to understand what's going on. So I think I asked you this off camera. What tribe are you? And you told me you're Luo. And do you mind if I ask you more your Luo name?
Ouma.
And Ouma means you're born at...
Onyango is on... Ouma is my dad's name, yes? But a lot of people know me as Ouma. But so Onyango Ouma. So Onyango means I was born early in the morning. I think maybe around 9 a.m.
Before the cows went to be milked?
I think 9 a.m. I think.
Onyango?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Onyango.
So, and then Ouma is just your dad's name?
Yes, that's my dad's name. Sijauliza inamaanisha nini. And but I think kama ni nini itakuwa maybe ni jioni au usiku.
Yeah, Auma.
Usiku ni Otieno. Hiyo najua hiyo.
Ondiek. Is it Ondiek?
Ondiek is literally the name of that's the name of a hyena. Yes, Ondiek is a hyena.
But somebody told me they were called Ondiek because they're named at midnight.
Nah.
Specifically midnight.
Nah, I don't think so.
Nilichochwa.
Nilichochwa.
So the reason I asked this is because so when I created a hashtag called I am Kenyan.
Yes.
Hashtag Mimi Mkenya. And it was about uniting all the tribes in Kenya. And as a Kikuyu trying to even sell that to the national cohesion, they were just like, but you're Kikuyu. And I'm just like, okay, but I saw what happened in 2007 and I was a Kikuyu still then. So what is the issue here? And then I realized my dad told me, you have a very small select group of friends that you've grown up with and you guys have a nice, comfortable bubble. Go and actually get real Django friends. Go get real Kisii friends. Go get people that are not in your circle and talk to them. And I did. And one of my friends told me about what Jomo Kenyatta did. And apparently that's where the hate came from. Number one, Jaramogi ceded power to Kenyatta.
Yeah.
He's one of, I think it was James Gishuru. There were a few people, including Jaramogi, who said no, until all the Kikuyus are removed from detention and it's given to a Kikuyu first, we're not going to accept. So that's one thing that Jaramogi did that Kikuyus are not taught about, which I thought was very bizarre. Then the second thing was that when Jomo got out, and because Jaramogi was socialist because of Russia,
Yes.
Jaramogi wanted an opportunity to lead. And Jomo, because he was a capitalist and he was not actually one of us, he was a puppet, as we found out later, he did what the white people did. He became a neo-colonialist. And I understand that there were 2 hospitals opened called Kenyatta Hospital. One here and the other one was in Kisumu. And the story goes, when Jaramogi was now pushed out of power, and when they went to open the hospital, Jaramogi has now been pushed out of power. And the Luo community were not happy because they said, number one, despite Jaramogi being educated, it was decided that everybody was educated, but also Jomo Kenyatta knew the British system, so he would be a better first leader. And considering all the bloodshed. So he did something benevolent.
Yes.
And so the Luo community were upset. And in turn, what they did, Jomo did, so when he went to open Kenyatta Hospital, they started throwing eggs and tomatoes at his car. And Jomo Kenyatta, with his almighty neo-colonialist power, decided to open fire.
Yes. The 1969
and massacred.
massacre. Yeah.
So we are not taught about that. So for me, I'm just like, why is there so much hatred amongst us? What happened? And I always say, and I'm sorry for doing this on air, but I'm sorry. On behalf of a Kikuyu man who was not one of us, to your community, you guys are owed an apology and reparations and consequences of justice for that, for sure. And I always tell people, if you don't understand the history, you will not know what you're fighting. That's why I say I like studying systems and history. And where we are right now in Kenya, you're right. We are at a place where we are fighting. And what is going on is our souls are fighting. So we see people like Maraga coming up. Maraga, let's not lie, I was at all the mandamanos. I've done what I can as a Kenyan citizen. He came up after. He was not at any of the protests. He was at home. And I even know the community where he used to stay before. You know, nilikuwa najua pale hata ananyolewa nywele. So he got funds, and I don't blame him. And this is what I want Kenyans to understand. Who are we giving our money to? Because you want to give somebody like Morara money, you want to give someone like Kasmel money, you want to give someone like Kimani Ichung'wah money, someone like Rigathi Gachagua money, and they have never had that amount of money. They have not been taught how to control it, what to do with it, and when it will end. So we keep going in the same cycle. We're handing over power and our institutions of justice and democracy to unqualified people. And I think that is where we're suffering as a nation. We were sold democracy by a colonial system whose intention was to continue surviving to exploit us. So this system is not ours. So that's why people are rebelling, because they're just like, your character looks familiar. Your character looks familiar. Your character looks familiar. We keep seeing familiar characters coming up because we are going around in a circle. And in order for us to break that, we have to be like, what do we want as a nation? Do we want this police system? Yes or no? Why do we want a police system? The police were initially created to stop runaway slaves in America. They're not pro-people. So do we need police? Do we need to pay them better? If we want better police, do they need to be educated more? Do they need guns? What do we want? What do we want for our justice system? Like, for example, in UK and in America, I don't know if you followed P. Diddy's case.
Yeah.
The guy was arrested last year. He was in court this year for 2 months. He's done.
Yeah.
Why are the rest of us in court for 20 years? And the Chief Justice has the opportunity to make rules, you know? So we have to understand, what do we want for our justice system ourselves also? Because if we think that we're going to get answers, and the reason I don't want to vote for Maraga is because I think he's a system man and he's my grandfather. I think he's been too embedded in the system to see a better future for it, right?
I have to disagree with you on that.
Do you? All right. I would love to hear why you disagree with me.
I disagree with you because I always give the example. It's the same thing people have done right now. People are posting photos and videos of Kalonzo saying that Nation was committing a crime by covering Sabasaba and being anti-Kanu. And I always tell people that if you dig deeper, you'll find Kibaki said the same thing. Kibaki was saying that Moi and Kanu should run the country forever. Kibaki still ended up being like the guy who transformed this country, like economically. Yes?
Yes.
He's also the guy who made us have faith in in elections and also made us lose faith in elections. So he did those
Both.
two things.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, what does this show you? This shows you that people who are good can survive in bad systems, and people who are bad can survive in good systems. So the fact that Maraga is, him, like the only thing he's saying is he'll return Kenya to constitutionalism. That's all he's saying. I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. And this is very powerful because what happens in Kenya is there are people who are above the law and there are people who are not above the law. So you have a president, for example, who wakes up and decides, you know what, I'm going to build a church on public land. I don't care that this country is not a Christian country. It's a secular country, but I'm going to build. And whoever does, wherever they can do, hakuna kitu mzadu. But this other one guy is saying that if I was in that position, I'd follow the law. If I was in that position, I'd follow all court orders. I'd do everything the way I'm supposed to do it. And that's why I think his mantra is reset Kenya. So reset it back to constitutionalism. There might be someone else, because the funny thing about Kenya is if we were to go back to constitutionalism and go back to following the law and go back, everything else will fall in place. Development, because now money meant for development will be used for development. It's not going to go into the individual pockets. Money used meant for blah, blah, blah is going, you understand? Like everything is just going to fall into place if there is no one above the law. But right now, as things stand, we lie to ourselves, but let's be realistic. Ruto is 100% above the law.
Yes.
And if we look at that, we'd have to go to maybe Kindiki is now above the law.
100%.
And you just go through that. And you even look at, I've been using the Alai case as a case study, where Alai used to be this guy who was anti-Ruto kabisa. But right now, all of a sudden, he keeps praising Ruto. Why? Because he has a land case. And he knows, if I support this one guy who also had land cases, I can keep this land. Nacheki. So when you look at that, now that's where we need someone who can reset us back to constitutionalism. But still, I respect people who don't trust him, or people who don't. So your alternative would be who?
I think
out of the people who may show up, not some mysterious unicorn who's still somewhere.
I don't want to be biased, but I think to where we are in a country, I think I'm happy because we are questioning the characteristics and character and motives of a person before we give them power. I think it's a beautiful place to be. We're now critically thinking about who this person is. The reason I disagree with Maraga wholeheartedly, and I'll tell you this, number one, Joe Biden, all right? Joe Biden was 85 years old. We saw as
Trump is how old? 76 right now?
Yeah, Maraga is what, 80 what?
No, he's not 80. 70
Are you sure?
Something. Yes.
I don't know.
Maraga is not 80.
I don't.
Maraga, I think it's what age. Maraga is early 70s.
You think so? No, but
he's 74, yes.
he's 74. I don't know. For me, I
So
feel
he'll be at the same age as Trump akiingia office.
I don't feel like Trump is good for office either, but he's entertaining. So this is what I was trying to get to at the bottom of it, right? You said that Ruto is above the law.
Yeah.
And who gave that ruling? Was it not in BBI? When the Supreme Court said that a president cannot be touched. The Constitution says that a president cannot be prosecuted, right?
While in office.
Does it say that specifically while in office?
Yes, while in office.
While
That's
in
why
office.
even Nani, I think Maraga is quoted as saying that. Was it last week? Alisema, yes, while in office, the Constitution yasema hivyo, but straight after, you can be prosecuted. And I think this is the same scenario in states. Kumbuki states,
Yes.
anaitwa nani? Trump alifanya zile vitu zake zote, then eventually he was impeached and he was not supposed to run, but he still ran.
Trump is literally right now a convicted felon.
Yes.
He's the first American convicted felon, which I think is very good, proves what I'm trying to explain. And Trump, by the way, was sued several times when he was in office because you can be sued in your personal capacity.
Yes.
And I think we've also agreed.
But you can't be prosecuted.
Yes. So let me tell you why I don't agree with Maraga and why I will not support him. So I personally have written to Maraga myself when he was Chief Justice about a particular advocate called Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi and the fraud he committed in court. And we, coupled with that, we also wrote to the Law Society of Kenya and the Advocates Complaint Commission. With those three things, the Chief Justice has the power to bar.
Okay.
All right? If you look at what happened also in the Supreme Court during this 2022 election, you saw that the Chief Justice was saying, I cannot believe advocates are swearing affidavits on their behalf in court, which is a criminal offense. And she said they should be prosecuted. Has anything happened to those advocates? Nothing has happened to them. Philomena, she's one of the Supreme Court judges. When she was being investigated by ODPP, she filed a lawsuit. No, she got an order blocking the ODPP from prosecuting her, right? Above the law. Right now, there's also a JSC petition. I can't remember which judge. I think it happened last week, where somebody went to JSC to file for this judge to be removed. And guess what they did? They went to they went to the High Court to get an order to stop them being investigated. So we literally, when we took away the big chain for Moi, we divided it by three. The executive, the legislator, the judiciary. And none of those people are accountable to anybody, and vice versa. So for me, from where I'm sitting, I think if Maraga did want to follow constitutionalism, if he wanted to set an example, he had an opportunity to do it as Chief Justice. He didn't. Why would I now, like Ruto, trust you to give you more power and hope you'll do it?
This guy, he's the first guy to alisema nini parliament ikuwe dissolved.
Yes.
Uhuru akakata.
Yes.
An election, something that has never happened.
That was gangster.
Uhuru became so angry at him that Uhuru decided he'd never appoint more judges. This guy tried his best, and after that, Uhuru aka slash budget za judiciary to just punish him. So, to compare him with every other Chief Justice, because Mtunga played alicheza tune ya Kibaki stroke Uhuru, if it was Uhuru's time. Martha Koome is the same. This is the one guy who went against the grain.
I get it.
He might not have done everything, because ikikamtota nini, I think tulimuuliza juu ya corruption, akisema that corruption cannot only be fought by judges, because you have prosecutors and you have a prosecution office that always does not get enough evidence. So by the time unakuja kotini, a judge hands are tied, because if there's no evidence, there's no evidence. Even hata leo nimetoka kuona hiyo story ya there's someone who has a 350 million fraud case, and all of a sudden the DPP does not have enough evidence. You know what that shows you?
Of course.
They don't want to.
Of course.
So that's why I can't judge him. I understand you judging him because of your experience with the judiciary.
Yes.
But it's not a one-man show. And maybe let's talk about that, because the person you're talking about is a person I also asked him about.
Yeah.
And the way he talked about him, you can see he dismissed him, because no one takes that person seriously. So we're talking about Ahmed Nasir.
Yes.
So experience yako na Ahmed Nasir, how did this happen?
Okay, so so I'll just get to the point of, I'll circle back to this Maraga issue, because it's one thing when you want to be president, but you're not willing to hold your peers to account.
Okay.
That's my issue, because that office, the judiciary, is what holds our democracy in place. So if you cannot hold your mse to account, hakuna story na tunabonga na wewe. That's